evening, sports fans. ASMR Sports back with you. Friendly reminder that y'all should check out hotcardboard.com and get yourselves some spots in the upcoming breaks. It looks like I am going to be around this weekend, so I do plan to record any breaks that are full by then. So please do take a look. There's a ultra modern baseball mixer that already has a couple spots filled, and then there's a couple of smaller breaks that only have 4 spots, so those wouldn't take much to fill. One of which is a classic junk wax era baseball break, and the other is a modern non-sports break. So please do check out hotcardboard.com and take a look at those breaks. They should be on the front page when you go. So for today, I kind of had a hankering for some vintage, I don't know if you call this vintage, but we'll call this junk wax era baseball action. I don't know why. I guess I was feeling a bit nostalgic. And I think I saw somebody open some of this stuff. On Facebook or something. And I was just sort of thinking about, what I thought of this product back in 87, 88, 89. And I'll talk a bit about that, but I'm going to do a rare thing, which is to cut open a sealed baseball card exchange wrapped box of cards. I sent this in, I don't know, a few years ago to get sealed, and paid whatever $8 for that process, and now I'm losing the benefit of that. But I was feeling like 87 Donruss, and I did not have any other 87 Donruss other than what I've got wrapped. I also have a sealed case of this stuff, which eventually I'll probably get wrapped, but not in much of a hurry to do that. Interestingly, the sticker here appears to have gone through the cellophane. There must have been a hole in the cellophane. So, back in 87 and I think in 86, Topps kind of started this idea of putting cards on the bottom. Actually, I feel like they did this earlier than 86 on hockey cards, but on baseball cards they did not do until 86. And then Donruss, the Donruss did not do it in 86, but they did do it in 87 and 88 and I think 89. Not sure beyond that, but box bottom cards were the cool thing, and this one would have been the hot item. Jose Canseco, everything Jose Canseco was awesome back then. When I was a kid back in 87, I was much like I am today, kind of more a fan of volume than of quality. So that meant that I tended to buy the cheaper brands of cards, like the Topps basically, instead of Donruss and Fleer. And so I didn't tend to get a lot of these myself, but I knew other kids that bought them, and I saw the cards and probably traded for some, and was a special product. Compared to tops. You know, just harder to find, more valuable. Cards looked cooler in some ways. And I remember a lot of the cards from this set. You know, they're sort of iconic in my view. The 87 Fleer set was actually the least produced, at least as far as I know. It seemed at the time to be the most in demand and the least available. That Fleer set with the blue borders. This pack is like horribly wrapped. But Donruss was pretty hot stuff. And pretty, at least to me back then, it was pretty premium. Premium feeling. So, of course, back then, every Donruss pack had a little puzzle piece, and the puzzle changed each year. This was Roberto Clemente. We can see his face. Nice and clear. We've got a real nice start to this pack. Hall of Famer George Brett, and it's actually really nicely centered. The challenge with this set, and this is a set that, you know, the PSA 10s of cards in this set are very valuable because it's condition sensitive, which means it is prone to have defects, you know, out of the pack that make PSA 10s very difficult to achieve. The biggest problem after centering, which is kind of an issue for pretty much everything in the 80s, but Donruss I feel especially had centering problems. But the biggest challenge with this particular set, 87 Donruss, is that the black borders, you know, really lend themselves to easily showing any kind of defects on the corners or on the edges. So, you know, very easy for these cards to get a ding that will be very apparent and make PSA flush a card right down the toilet. Now this card, interestingly, this is the card that was on the top. So the wrapper tends to kind of bend the corners over more than cards that are in the middle of the pack, and that's really the only kind of defect I see. You can see that bottom right corner is sort of bent over a little bit, and you know, you can sort of visibly tell that. Now, could that be something that could be improved if you just put this between, you know, heavy books for a couple years? I think possibly so, although if you do that, you threaten to possibly squish the card and actually increase the size of it, which can be a problem. Back in the 80s, they made these special acrylic plastic holders they called screw downs, and it was basically a, you know, couple of plastic slabs, and then in the four corners were little screws, and you'd put your card in between the slabs, and you'd put the screws in, you'd screw it tight, and it squished the cards. It made them expand in size, because just years of, you know, that pressure can expand the size of the card ever so slightly. And you know, funny because people who trim cards, scam artists who trim cards will you know, basically squish a card like that, and then, you know, it'll be big enough that they can chop off a bit of it that maybe has a defect on it, or maybe the corner is bad, but if they cut it, then the bad corner goes away, creates a new corner basically. So they use that to their advantage. Anyways, that was kind of off topic, but this card is actually really beautifully centered, kind of amazing. And if it was in the middle of the pack and didn't have this kind of bent corner, you know, very well might be a PSA 10, which I have to say, even cards I think are pretty dang flawless. If they're 80s cards, you send them in. They really want to make sure there's not that many 10s out there. It seems like PSA does. So they very well might just give you a 9, even if I think it's pretty dang perfect. Anyways, yeah, that because of that corner, that probably is not going anywhere, but it's pretty nice to see something so beautifully centered. Hopefully the rest of the cards in the pack will be as nicely centered, maybe not have corner dings. So this one gets a little off center. Left border is bigger than the right. Top border is bigger than the bottom. But the corners look pretty dang nice. Edges as well, not really any chipping. So these cards are really, really sharp looking. Of course, anytime you open something like this, you know, other than the nostalgia factor, your only real hope of getting value is finding cards that are gonna, you know, be PSA 9s or PSA 10s, and they're, you know, superstars or, you know, the key rookies. So we're getting more off-center in the same direction, that is the left border being bigger and bigger and bigger as we go through this. So see if that kind of resets. Yeah, it did kind of reset here with the Mike Young. I'm not sure how many packs of this I'm going to open. I'm kind of slow rolling it because I'm trying to spend some time with these cards and, you know, really relive the experience of seeing these cards for the first time. But the key rookies in this set are, well, the one Hall of Fame, I think, rookie is Greg Maddux, who was with the Cubs in the 87 baseball card sets. And beyond him, there's a very nice Bo Jackson rated rookie. It's kind of a very well-known card for collectors from the 80s. And even though Bo Jackson didn't really have much of a baseball career, I mean, he was sort of a very bright star that burned out too early due to a hip injury. You know, he was just a phenomenon for the years that he was playing, and boy, his cards were hot back in 87, 88, 89. Anyway, so his rookie card still does command value. And beyond that, there's a Mark McGwire rated rookie in here, which, not a rookie because he had an 85 Topps draft pick card, or not draft pick, but USA Olympic team card in 85 Topps. Otherwise, his 87 cards would be his rookies, so some people maybe call that a rookie, and the 85 card something else. But his, you know, basically second year cards really are in here. And Jose Canseco is, you know, kind of a decent card to pull. And of course, Barry Bonds rookie cards. Strangely, Barry Bonds did not get the rated rookie treatment in this set. He was just a regular old card. So that was kind of weird. All right, Jesse Barfield. This one, once again, is dead on center, so I'm guessing we're going to start seeing everything kind of shift off center for like 2 more cards and then maybe go back. Jesse Barfield was outfielder for the Blue Jays in the 1980s and part of a 2-man wrecking crew on the Blue Jays. Him and George Bell were very, very good. I think it was Barfield who had, he was known as having like the strongest outfield arm in the league for a few year time period. Had a lot of assists from the outfield and was sort of very well known for that, I remember, as a kid. Also, you know, had a pretty nice bat. See, in 86, he had 40 home runs, which led the American League. And he had a couple good years after that, too. Kind of decent home run numbers. It's funny, I didn't know that like in '83 he had such a strong home run season. I believe, I'm trying to think when they made Jesse, I feel like his rookies were actually like 85. No, 80, oh man, now I gotta look it up. I'm gonna look it up. Stay with me. I feel like they were 86, but... Let's see here. Alright, I'm totally wrong. They did have cards of him back when he was just getting in the league. He has an 82 Topps card. And I'm sort of remembering this. I can bring it over here. I'm remembering this now as I see it. So there's 82 Topps Jesse Barfield rookie. And in fact, I have probably several of these cards. So, Jesse Barfield, one of my best friends when I was in, grade school and started collecting cards, was a huge Blue Jays fan. So he was big on Barfield and Bell and a bunch of other guys on that team. By the way, you'll hear the furnace starting. It's that time of year. I've actually just yesterday turned on the furnace for the first time here in sunny North Dakota. It was starting to get pretty dang cold in the house, so apologies if the furnace bothers you, but it's kind of a pain to turn it off. And I know some people actually enjoy it. It's a pretty white noise kind of sound. So now we're seeing some corner dings. All the other corners on this are pretty good. Tony Phillips, legendary second baseman for the A's and I think several of their championship teams or World Series teams. Joe Niekro, longtime pitcher through a variety of teams. Younger brother of Phil Niekro. John Russell, very off center. Corner's kind of bent there, which is sort of weird because it's in a part of the pack I would expect to be protected from that. But yeah. There's Roy Smalley. IF they used to put for guys that I guess were probably like utility guys. Jimmy Jones. This was a rookie card, yeah. Jose Rio was a pretty electric young pitcher for a few years. I think he had a fairly decent career, but was not a superstar by any means. But I remember him being pretty well regarded back, when he came into the league. Let's look at his stats here. Yeah, I mean, he was 9-11 here for 86. I'm not sure how long he stayed on the A's, if he was kind of around for those 88, 89, 90 dynasty teams, or if he had moved on. I feel like he eventually went to the Reds, but I might be hallucinating. And of course, he started as a Yankee, so I was familiar with him back then, primarily because of that. Alright, Andy Van Slyke, his rookie card is 84 Donruss and 84 Topps. He was a pretty good slugger back in the day. And of course in '87 the Cardinals went to the World Series to play against the Minnesota Twins, who are now moving on to the, I think, Division Series against the Astros, who I will be very much rooting for the Twins in that series. Let's take a look at some stats here. Van Slyke, nothing too crazy by this point in time, but I just remember his stuff being, his rookies were fairly valuable back in the 80s. last card is Bob Brower, outfielder for the Rangers. I don't know that this guy really did much of anything in the league, but so there you go. That was a pretty lackluster pack. We did get that very nice, nicely centered George Brett with a bit of a corner issue, and I'll sleeve him up. But other than that, kind of a zero value pack. Let's do another. I remember one time I was at church when I was a youngster, and across the street from the church that I went to, there was a convenience store. Kind of funny. It was, really sort of a thing that doesn't exist right now, which is at least in the sort of Midwest, these things exist all over New York City and other large cities, but this was a convenience store, that was not a gas station. It was just in sort of the downtown area of my town. And I was kind of in an odd place where there really wasn't a lot of, action. But it was right by this church that I went to, and I remember vividly that they had, 87 Topps baseball, and occasionally they would have funner things like 87 Donruss, and, I grew up very poor. I had a few dollars to my name, but not enough to be buying this high-end Donruss stuff. But there was an older kid who went to my church, and he was probably like in high school age. And I remember one time he went to that store and he bought like 10 packs of Donruss, which just seemed like to me like you had to be a millionaire to pull that off. And these packs I think were like probably 55 cents or something like that. If you got them at retail. If you got them at the hobby shops, they were probably like 75 cents. But anyways, he got those cards and brought them, over to the church building and opened them in front of me, and I was kind of just amazed. I think he got a Canseco. I remember that being the sort of big chase card, and him getting the big one that everybody wanted out of that. Although, Canseco, of course, has the sort of famous 86 Donruss rookie card, which back in the 80s was one of the most valuable cards of the 80s when Canseco was playing and, hitting his 40 home runs a year. Here's a nice Hall of Famer Ozzie Smith. Pretty decent centering, too. Does have a little bit of scratching on the top border there, so not really anything that could gem. But I'll just leave them up as I wanted to do. Bruce Hurst. Nicky Saskey was kind of a hot commodity there for a little bit in the 80s. I feel like he had one season that's not on here where he hit like 40 home runs. It was just like a ton of home runs at the time. He went on like a real power surge. I don't know what year that was. It might have been like 87, 88 or something, but I remember his stuff being kind of hot for a minute. But that was fleeting. Alright, there's Jim Sundberg. Garth Iorg. Danny Darwin. Very nice. Fred McGriff, second year, so Fred McGriff is another one of those guys that had a rated rookie in the 86 Donruss set, and right now that card is fairly desirable because Fred McGriff, of course, is now a Hall of Famer. So if you have a nice condition 86 Donruss card of him, it's worth a little bit of money. Certainly much more than before he was inducted into the Hall of Fame. So that's a cool one. Wow, we got our first rated rookie. Of course, these were what you're looking for back in, the 80s, really. Everybody wanted rookies, and the rated rookies were always good to have. Ken Gerhardt card never really went on to do much. I wonder what a guy like Ken Gerhardt, like ended up doing. I don't think this guy had a long career, but I'm gonna look him up right now and make sure I am not mistaken about that. All right, let's see. He played from 86 to 88, so basically, he's got 86 on here, and went 2 years after that. I'll read you his Wikipedia here. His career came to an abrupt ending when he was struck in the wrist while batting. Wow, that's a bummer. He now lives with his family in Murfreesboro, Tennessee. Let's see, he holds the single-season runs scored record for the Hagerstown Suns minor league baseball team with 131 runs scored in 1983. Okay, so it looks like he had a really nice minor league career. I wonder if I could find out what this guy is doing now. Oh, I think this is him, guys. Alright, hold on, I just got up a window here, another screen, I'm gonna share that with you. There he is. Ken Gerhardt, mortgage loan officer at West Banco in Annapolis, Maryland. So, kind of funny, that's a lot of major leaguers, from the 80s and probably a lot of the 90s. If they just had a kind of a few years in the bigs, they basically, just have had full careers outside of baseball. One time I looked up Kevin Moss, who Yankees fans will remember as, the sort of phenom of 1990. He was a first baseman that came up, hit something like 8 home runs in his first 10 games, or it was something crazy like that. And his cards immediately took off. His rookies were $10 a piece. I should have sold all of them, of course, but people were thinking this guy's the next Mickey Mantle. Well, yeah, no, not so much. He pretty much did not reproduce anything near his performance from 1990, and quickly was kicked off the team and out of baseball. And that guy, I looked him up a few years ago, and I think he's a financial planner, some kind of finance guy out in California. So all these guys, probably Jim Lindemann too, right? Didn't really have too much of a career, and probably just had to get an ordinary job like everybody else, but with probably some fun stories about playing in the minor leagues, getting drafted, probably played with some, Hall of Famers, or, what would be Hall of Famers when he was in the minors, or certainly when he was on the Cardinals here from, in 1986, he would have played with Ozzie Smith, and, a bunch of other pretty solid guys, and, he was probably on the 87 World Series team, so maybe he's got, World Series experience, but, I don't know, it's funny to think about those kinds of things. And, these days when guys get signed, not really, most of the guys. I think probably after, round one, the bonuses that guys get are probably not crazy. They're maybe $100,000 or something. Which certainly is a lot of money, but it's not gonna, make you rich for the rest of your life. But there are guys, certainly who get paid millions and millions of dollars when they sign. And back in the 80s, that really did not happen. I don't think anybody, got stupid crazy money. Well, I think there were a few. I feel like Dave Winfield had that happen because he had sort of a lot of options as a 3-star or 3-sport athlete star. things he could have done rather than sign with the Padres who drafted him. Whereas a lot of baseball players, it's like if you don't sign after you get drafted, like you can go bag groceries, and that's about it. All right, so I'm gonna do I think one more pack here. This video is pretty long, and I hope you guys have enjoyed. And if you've stuck around this long, please give a like to the video so we can get some traction on it, and hopefully grow the channel. So we got a banged up corner here on the upper left of Charlie Lee Brandt. We got a Bobby Grich, Rafael Santana, Ozzie Virgil. 86 was the so this picture would have been from 86. It's going to have his 86 stats. That's the last year. 86 was the year that the Mets won the World Series over the sad sack Boston Red Sox in the Bill Buckner fiasco. It's kind of funny because he sort of looks like Bill Buckner with that mustache. Alright, Lee Lacy, Junior Ortiz, Mike Brown, Pat Clemens. These cards are looking pretty spiffy. Centering, is not perfect, but corners and edges look really nice. So I hope we pull a banger. We got a Hall of Famer, Steve Carlton. This was, I think the White Sox were like the last team that he played with in '87, and then I think he retired. But you see, 705 career games by this point. 323 losses. The magic number for pitchers seems to be 300 wins. If you get 300 wins, you're in very elite company and pretty much guaranteed a spot in the Hall of Fame. Scott Geralt's one of the many players from the 80s that wore glasses, primarily pitchers, I feel. Because I guess contact lenses were not quite around or as available as they are today, and they didn't have LASIK. Probably most athletes get LASIK, although if I were an athlete, I'd be super scared to get LASIK. I mean, I know it's like I don't know, maybe it's totally irrational to have any fear of LASIK because the odds of, having a botched surgery are so low. It's like, getting in your car every day may be a higher risk. I don't know. Still, though, the idea of, like, cutting crap out of my eyes seems super undesirable. Steve Ontivros. Jose De Leon. And Manny Trio looking very much like Ryan Sandberg in this photo. I feel like this is the same position you see Ryan Sandberg in. On at least one baseball card out there that, sort of like is in my mind as something that seems familiar. It might even be this 87 Donruss set that Sandberg is in that pose. I can't quite remember. Well, folks, I hope you enjoyed. I certainly had fun, and now I've got enough of these packs left. I'll maybe put them up for sale if anybody wants to buy some. These are pretty fun to get into, so maybe y'all will enjoy some for yourself. Okay, that's what we got for today. Hope everybody's doing well. You guys have a great one. Bye now.